Meanwhile, the Ukrainian armed forces are methodically and decisively bringing Crimea back home. For example, in temporarily occupied Sevastopol, it was reported that one of the longest attacks on military targets took place. Additionally, fighters from the Special Operations Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine destroyed storage sites for the Russian Iskander missile system on the temporarily occupied peninsula. And by the way, this week the disgraceful mishap known as the Kerch Bridge was once again shut down. Here are the details.
Crimea is rumbling again. Explosions at military sites, drones over the peninsula, and Russian air defenses hit.
Somewhere right nearby.
Ukraine is reducing Russia's ability to use Crimea as a military staging ground.
Yes, at the oil depot.
But what is this? Are these just strikes, or is it the beginning of the peninsula's return? The night of February 17th, the governor of Sevastopol announced one of the longest attacks on the peninsula. That same night, the Crimean bridge was closed, with hundreds of cars stuck in traffic jams and trains delayed.
There haven't been any random attacks on Crimea since the 22nd. These strategic military operations have been meticulously and carefully planned and very well thought out. And now, when precision strikes and tactical operations are carried out on specific targets in Crimea, we view and analyze these specific actions more in the context of the primary and essential first line of defense for those targets in the Caucasus.
Right in the heart of Russian military infrastructure, the Iskander missile depot in Pasechnoye was destroyed by Ukrainian Special Operations Forces.
First, there are fixed and stationary targets that remain in one place. These are kept under constant, rigorous surveillance around the clock and endure the heaviest brunt of the incoming attacks. Then there are other targets that are significantly more mobile, transient, and temporary in their nature. Carefully calculating, planning, and executing such an operation with absolute precision is the single most challenging task.
A flash, then a column of smoke. Over the course of this past week, the Ghosts successfully struck a surface-to-air missile and gun system. They targeted the Pantsir-1, the sophisticated Nebo-U radar system, and the BK-16 landing craft. Now all that remains is scrap metal from what used to be valuable Russian equipment.
A comprehensive system designed for monitoring both surface and air situations serves as a key element of situational awareness at sea and in the air. Because these systems provide critical data for defense, radar stations are consistently prioritized as primary targets during any tactical engagement. First, there are the radar stations. Second, after them come the air defense systems. After that, the breakthrough of the defenses begins.
But now, even fortified airfields in Crimea are no match for Ukraine's forces. On January 20th, the Jankoy airfield came under attack, targeting its control tower. But that's not all, because earlier at the airfield in Sevastopol, equipment worth hundreds of millions of dollars was destroyed. In particular, a Russian transport aircraft was simply standing there, waiting for a Ukrainian drone to arrive. Crimea is a key military base and logistics center for Russian forces, and it is from there that attacks on Ukraine are most often launched.
Aviation is important for both sides. First, aviation serves as an element of air defense, specifically as a critical component of the enemy's first echelon of air defense. Second, and perhaps even primarily, it is simply about those Russian forces and aggressive invaders who are ruthlessly destroying our beautiful cities and homes are finally starting to get exactly what they deserve for their actions.
Under air defense strikes are radars, airfields, military bases, and naval equipment. This is no longer a one-time action, but a systematic weakening of Russian military infrastructure on the peninsula.
As long as Russian occupation forces remain in our sovereign Crimea and continue launching attacks against our Ukrainian land, they will naturally face an inevitable and firm response from our people in defense of our nation.
Another question is why Russia, for some reason, isn't actively defending even its most important equipment and military facilities. Could it be that their so-called unparalleled air defense can't cope?
They're pulling systems from Kamchatka, from From Sakhalin and all the way from Primorye, they are hauling heavy missile complexes that were previously on active combat duty, dragging them directly into our Crimea. While they were in the middle of transporting them, our defense forces struck hard. So, they have finally brought them in and set them up, and now we are carefully preparing for the next strike. That means we definitely need to destroy these new Arctic orcs, first in order for the strike to be successful.
Crimea remains Russia's key staging ground for strikes against Ukraine, and the more actively it is used, the more often it becomes a target. And now the question is not only whether there will be new attacks, but how long Crimea can remain Russia's main military hub.